Hurricane Katrina, there were about 50 different levee breaches around the city. One of the most prominent ones happened right here at the Industrial Canal levee here in the lower Ninth Ward. The failure of this levee was caused largely by overtopping. You had storm surge that came in from the east and the north as Katrina passed to our east, and the winds just funneled all that water down into the channel.
Counterclockwise.
Yep. So the visual here, the levee is not obviously the same structure as it was before the storm, but the visual here is still the same, where you would have water cascading over the top, quite like a waterfall basically, undermining the soil, and then the wall just collapsed. And so you just had this torrent of water that came down. This area is one of the lowest lying areas in the entire city. It's about 8 feet below sea level where we're standing right now. So you could check it, yeah. It's estimated that about, what did you say, Jason, about 30% of residents rebuilt after the storm? It was something
down
like
here?
Yeah.
No, I would say it's less than that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you can look, I mean, just count the lots. Count the lots and see how many empty there are compared to how many have been rebuilt.
Right.
And then look at the ones that are boarded up, you know.
Yeah, there's more that were rebuilt but are now boarded up.
Yeah. It's close. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's your crash course in the lower Ninth Ward. And bridges, real quick. You came over the St. Claude Bridge, which was built in 1920, when the canal was built in the years after World War I. The Claiborne Avenue lift bridge was built in the 1950s. The next bridge we're going to go over on our next leg is the Florida Avenue Bridge. The new bridge was built in the weeks prior to Katrina. And this bridge is important from a railroad standpoint because it's the only rail link to St. Bernard Parish from the mainland and vice versa.
Okay.
Questions, comments? You good? Okay. Let's get on to the next stop. stockyard on that site up until 1940s when they built before they built the field at this former site of the stockyard. So anyway, that's the story on that. Bridge over here, that was the original bridge crossing here. There used to be roadways on both sides of that cantilever on the sides. The high-level drawbridge was built in the 1960s to replace it functionally as a road crossing. In the years after Hurricane Katrina, the Seabrook floodgate complex was built over there. You can see it over there. That basically shuts off access to the industrial canal from the lake and prevents storm surge from coming in from north. So that's what's here. You guys want quick pictures?
Yes.
You're welcome to.
It's like,
Yeah, out of the way, bro. Once you get your picture, let's get going. It's like, you know, it's like we got our own Mardi Gras parade right now. I was thinking of that when I saw the line of cars going down Elysian Fields just now. Like, you know, we should be throwing beads out of the car. You know? So let me talk for a second about this area, and then I'm going to turn you guys loose for a little while to explore on your own. Let's talk first about what's over here. That building is the Flooded House Museum. It's a replica diorama that was created as sort of like a memorial to the devastation of this part of the city following the breach in the London Avenue Canal, which broke more or less right in this location at the Mirabeau Avenue Bridge, which is right over there. A lot of the failures of the levees in New Orleans were caused by overtopping of the levees. We saw that with the Industrial Canal over in the Lower Ninth Ward. Failures at the 17th Street and London Avenue canals were caused by structural failure, due in large part to the fact that their foundations were not constructed properly per design specifications. The water did not overtop these levees. The water did come up along the concrete and the foundations were not deep enough, and so it just pushed the levee aside in multiple locations. This area on this side of the levee, this is the Gentilly neighborhood. This is some of the lowest lying land on this side of the Industrial Canal. This is about 6 to 7 feet below sea level. This was inundated for weeks after the storm. And so the flooded house is sort of a replication of what this area as a whole looked like for weeks after the storm. As part of this whole area, you will see exhibits here that document the history of the levee system and some of the stuff that happened during Katrina and some of the aftermath of what's happened in the years since. So you're welcome to take a look and check some of that out. The other thing you can do, and unfortunately it's not an ADA compliant thing, but if you want to get a view of the canal from the bridge, you can do so by walking out to the intersection here and then going up. I would just caution you to be careful because there's no sidewalk. If you walk on the grass on the side, you can sort of peek over the flood wall that's on the bridge if you want to go into the canal from up there. So that is what this area has to offer. I'm going to turn you guys loose for about, what time is it now? I would say at 3 o'clock, let's get rolling again. All right? 2:37. programming note before I talk about what's behind me. So the next leg on the tour, there's a stop at the end of the tour on the Broad Street overpass. We're going to skip that stop, so don't even worry about stopping on the bridge. That's just not going to happen. So you'll just transition directly into Lake E from there. There is a picture on page 17 of the view from this overpass. That's what you're basically listening at.
We got that view when we were on the 10 anyway.
I mean, it's pretty similar. Yeah. All right. So I-610 was constructed later on than I-10. I-10 was completed across town by the late 60s. 610 was built for the most part in the 70s. The big controversy with 610 was its alignment through City Park. Land was acquired in the park in 1966 for the alignment that was constructed. The courts got involved when lawsuits were filed. Residents claimed that it was against the Federal Aid Highway Act of 1968 to build a freeway through the park without a suitable alternative. The courts upheld the Louisiana decision to build the highway on the grounds that the land had been purchased prior to the Federal Aid Highway Act of 1968 and its provisions going into effect. Therefore, that project was ultimately allowed to go ahead in the 1970s. 610 was completed. I think this was the last piece of it here to be completed. This was put into service in the late 1970s, but most of this is from the early 1970s from a construction standpoint. But when you drive it today, it's still very much like an early 1960s design. This road was a dotted line for years because of being held up by the city park. Yeah, New Orleans does not do diesel. That's just not a thing. It's an absolute feat. So that is the 610 story. Now, when we go to our next leg and we start heading back through town, we're going to follow Claiborne Avenue. Now, that was originally a tree-lined boulevard, much like Legion Fields over here, where you guys were coming south just now. That is what Claiborne used to look like pre-1965 or whatever, before the freeway was built, basically in the neutral ground. By the way, I don't know if you guys, maybe you already knew this, but New Orleans is not called a median, it's called a neutral ground, right? Just a little bit of terminology for you. Local known things, right? So you will see the difference between what it looks like on Legion Field and then you turn on to Claiborne and it's like, oh, there's a freeway. It's a very stark difference between the two. The freeway that was constructed along Claiborne divided the Treme neighborhood in half, basically, and isolated it from the downtown district on the other side of the freeway. The Treme is the oldest African-American neighborhood in the United States. It was created shortly after the creation of the initial settlement in the 1720s. And it was where free African Americans who had won their freedom by some means or another, they settled in the neighborhood that became known as Treme. So it is a very historic neighborhood, and it unfortunately is bisected by this elevated freeway. There are talks back and forth about what to do with this highway. So much of the infrastructure here was built for about a 60-year design life, and it's all basically reaching its expiration date as it is. So there's a lot of discussion about what to do, especially with the I-10 elevated that we're going to go by in a little while. There's been a push in recent years to remove it completely. There's been a parallel push to remove parts of it, remove some of the ramps and relocate some of the ramps elsewhere. There's been a push to rebuild it in place in full. So no decision has been reached on that, but there's plenty of time to sit around and spin the wheels to figure out what we're not going to do. So stay tuned on that.
We're going to take out that fixed water pit.
You know,
There's a big circle ramp there to the bridge there, right?
yeah, they'll tear down town. They'll build the riverfront to replace it. So that's my scoop on 10 and 610. You are welcome to walk down the street and get some pictures of the elevated structures if you like. If not, you're welcome to return to your vehicles and keep on with the tour. By the way, this is the last stop because we're canceling the stop at the end of the